Hannah, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super, super, super excited.
Yeah. Oh, so I've seen you around on, I think ever since I recorded with DJ Victor, and then we got the
Sozi?
connection. Yes, oh, Sozi actually. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Sozi. I was confused with DJ Victor. But yeah, I recorded with Sozi Draws, and then I recorded with, yeah. So then the other day, somebody added me. I was like, hey, you should interview some poets, like a bunch of other people. Because I interview a lot of people who are in different careers. Like I literally
Mhm.
just interview
Yeah.
any person who wants to be a guest on the podcast. So then I put it up, and then Melon, I think that's her name, Melon. She said you have
Yes.
to record with Hannah and as a writer to talk about that. So yeah, that's how he ended up here. Mujevale, Mujevale, Mujevale. My name is Bane Kibuka, and welcome to another episode of the Ugandan Ball Talk Show. How are you doing?
Yeah. I'm doing okay. I'm doing great. Still can't believe I'm on the podcast, honestly. Because I'm a huge fan. I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of your work. Yeah, I'm doing good. I was actually from a class,
Okay.
journalism class. Yeah.
I really appreciate that, and you saying you're fun. It means a lot to me. This is something that just an idea that came up, and I love to see the growth and where it's going. I never
Mm.
envisioned it to be where I'm at, but also I can't wait to see where it's going. So I'm
The
excited for that.
consistency, your consistency is what
Yeah.
really keeps me hooked to the podcast, actually. It's hard to
Yeah.
be that consistent. I
Right.
know.
That is
Yeah.
true. There's a lot of guys we started with, and all of them. Actually, the person who made me want to start doing podcasts, and this is
Yeah.
not like throwing shade or anything on that person. She stopped doing it, but she got me hooks to doing podcasts, and then like
Yeah.
she kind of just gave up.
Give up.
So yeah. So where are you from exactly, and where are you catching this podcast from?
I'm from Uganda, staying currently in Kampala, but originally, my original home is a village called Kajara in Ntungamu district, Western
Mhm.
Uganda. That's where my family comes from.
I usually like to say I know all the places in Kampala, but I would be lying if I said I knew that.
In Kampala, I'm just here in Wandegea. You know
One
Wandegea,
day.
right?
Yeah, I know one day. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's where I
Some of us talking about Masomelo Gabe, like we were just
am.
underdogs. But what schools did you go to?
So, my primary school was the Aga Khan Primary School,
Exactly.
and then
That
it,
answers
yeah.
my question. You can even stop.
No, in that school we did a lot of reading and writing. By my P3, I was reading novels that some people can't read. So I think that's when I was really exposed to the whole concept of writing and being creative, a
Yeah.
creative writer. And then my high school, I did 6 years at Baranyanji Girls Senior Secondary
Okay.
School. It's a school in Busheni. I had to go back after my O level. I had to go back because it opened 1,000 doors for me. It was at that school where I did my very first work as an editor for a magazine, for the school magazine.
Mhm.
So it was a great experience for me. I had to go back for my A levels. I was there 6 years, and now I'm at Makerere University. Yeah.
That's awesome. And the reason why I asked schools and you doing what you're doing, and not this again, this is not putting shade on our schools because I went there too. But I can't tell you like I know one person from my class who is a writer. I mean, maybe I don't know where they all are, but yeah, that
Yeah.
answers it. When you hear people, I'm a writer, I'm the poet. Like when you ask them their schools, they would say
Yeah.
Aga Khan. Well, those fancy schools in Kampala, like all that stuff. But for
Yeah.
us,
It
I'm a
influences.
yeah, no, yeah,
It does
that's good.
influence.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah, I wanted to start with that. I was trying to think of how I can make my interviews entertaining, break the ice, and somebody you've never talked to, like how you interview. And you're a
Yeah.
journalist too, so you're gonna be keeping marks on me on like on a guy or what for IBC. But I was trying to see how I'm gonna do my interviews entertaining. But
Yeah.
I had some fun questions that I have in here and some serious questions. But one question I've started asking
Okay.
a lot of people is What is a good day for you?
A good day for me is a busy day.
Okay.
That means I have very many things planned up and I'm keeping active. When I'm
Okay.
not being active, it's a typical horrible day for me. If I'm just going to class and then
Mhm.
going back to my hostel, that is a typical horrible day for me. But for me, a good day is waking up early in the morning. I have class, then I have an event later, or maybe I have a meeting for the guild council. That for me is a perfect day because I'm keeping myself busy.
And I'm not gonna start blowing my own trumpet, but I like the way I organize my questions and my podcasts and my interviews, because the reason
Mm,
why I brought that question is you're a busy person. You are like, if
yeah,
somebody follows you on Instagram, they can see you're hosting an event. Tomorrow
yeah,
you're talking about like writing a poem or something, and then the
yeah.
other day you are a radio at Power FM, and then the other day
Mhm.
you are Makerere University, and like you're so busy. How do you manage to do
Yeah.
all that stuff?
So I think people ask me that question so many times, and my answer has always been that the reason why I'm able to do all these different things is because I love it and I enjoy it. So
Hmm.
because I love it and enjoy it, I find myself creating time for all those things to happen. And I mean, I'm young. I keep saying people like, I'm young. This is my chance for me to do all the crazy things I've always wanted to do without
Yeah,
any restrictions. I don't have a family. I don't have kids. So I'm free to do all these things without
e-
any restrictions. But because
exactly.
I love it, I create the time for all these things.
I'm like that. I can't sit in one place, and that's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. It's I'm always creating something. And now that I started this
Yeah.
podcast, is like if I'm
Mm.
not editing my next podcast, I'm recording a podcast. Like that's why like
Yeah.
any free time I have and somebody has a free time, like, hey, we should do a podcast, and then I'll go edit that and put it out there. And that's how I've managed to
Yeah.
stay consistency and just pushing myself. And I like
Yes.
that about you. And there's one thing that I really like, and I was like, I need to bring this up. You have a caption. I'm gonna say the caption first, and then I'll tell you the picture, or you will even know the picture. You say it takes courage to take on your dream, and that's why I
Mm.
respect everyone that dreams and put action to that dream. And it's good
Mm.
that we are talking about what we do and why we do that. And that caption falls on. Do you know that picture on your
Yes, I
Instagram?
do. I know. It's actually
What
one of my recent ones.
yeah,
I guess it's one of my recent ones. I can't really put my finger on it, but it's one of my recent ones I posted
yeah.
this month actually.
It's when
Yeah.
you had your dream board. You had your dream board up, and you
Ah,
had
my
everything on
dream
there.
chat.
Yeah.
I love that picture. I love it.
What made you put up the picture and write the caption with it about a dream and everybody that puts action to their dream?
Yeah. So basically, I had a dream in my senior six vacation after doing my high school, and I was transitioning back to university. And it took me a lot of time for me to think about what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So when I finally found out and got a vision from God, a serious vision from God,
Mhm.
that told me, Hannah, you are meant to do journalism. So leave aside law. I started to think about journalism in a very serious way. So I created that dream chart at a class called the mentorship class. It's basically a class that gives you mentorship for people who are looking towards having serious careers. So I did the dream chart and I put up these different things. I want to travel, I want to get married, I want to do debate, I want to do events, I want to do journalism, radio, TV, and all these different things. And by then it was just a dream. I had no idea that it would actually come to life. But the thing about me is that when I decide to do something, I take it, I go like all the way. Like if I
Mhm.
put my mind to something, I'm doing it like all the way. So I
Yeah.
started my journey. I opened up a blog that year. I opened up a YouTube the following year, and I started to really fight for the views, fight for the interviews, fight for the visibility of those different channels. And just like that, I think I'm doing a pretty good job so far in where I am. And the
Yeah.
reason why I said it takes a lot of courage is because there are so many no's, so many negative opinions people give when you're trying to
Mhm.
chase your dream,
Mhm.
and they get surprised when at the end of the day you're actually thriving, and
Right.
they're like, oh my god, oh Hannah, hi, congratulations. But they forget, like, yo, you this really discouraged me when I was starting. Like you threw
Hmm.
shade, like
Yeah.
seriously. So it takes so much courage. I respect the people that do what they do. I respect you, Bash, for doing what you do consistently, even when sometimes I'm sure sometimes it feels like, is this really working?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
but it takes so much courage.
I like that you say that because even when I was studying, I mean, I think some people thought it was a joke. I mean, at that time, I didn't even
Mm,
have equipment. Like, it wasn't so serious. But like
yeah.
when I feel like one thing that has helped me as a person is the consistency, like you mentioned earlier, because people keep seeing you showing up every day, every
Every
weekend.
day.
There's a new episode. Like we thought this guy is gonna quit, but he's not
I
quitting.
know.
And like the people who had the negativity, obviously,
Mm,
I'm a person who likes to learn. I love to improve. I like good work. So if somebody
mm.
comes up to you and says, "Hey, Basha, I think you need to change this, and this will help you with that," not just being negative. Like
Negative.
somebody can bring some negative energy to you and just stop at that.
Yes.
But somebody will criticize something, but gives you a solution. Hey, Basha, if you do this, it might help
This can
you
be
do this.
exactly
But not just coming as like,
constructive criticism.
yeah. So like one person today, and I don't think I'm gonna mention their name, but the post I put out, like, hey, anybody who wants to ask Hannah a question, and somebody
Mm.
messaged me, I was like, hey Basha, next time if you post that, put what somebody does, like about a little
Oh
bit about
yeah.
somebody. So then
Mm.
someone can know a question to ask. But like if you just put
Mm.
any question you want to ask Hannah,
Oh
some people don't
yeah.
know what Hannah does. And like if you put
Yes.
like she's a writer, she's a host, somebody might want to ask a question to somebody who does that. So that was a good thing, and I was like, yeah, I like that. So I like positive criticism and things that help
Yeah.
you grow. And I'm glad you
Grow and
shared
become
that.
better.
Yeah, I'm glad
Yeah.
you shared that and where you've been. And on top of that, you are an award winner, the best
Hmm.
news anchor. What was the award? Today's episode is sponsored by Dansoft Gamers. Dansoft Gamers is the leading distributor of video games and other consumer gadgets like the podcast microphone sets, ring lights, headphones, and affordable smartwatches, and many other cool gadgets. For these and more, visit their website at www.dansoftgamers.co. That is www.dansoftgamers.co.
Best, best 2021 Best English News Anchor for the Media Challenge Initiative
Okay.
competition that happened. It was actually my very first award in the entire industry, and let me
Amazing.
tell you, I was so excited.
Yeah.
But the whole process is kind of funny. So there's this thing called the Media Challenge Initiative
Mm-hmm.
that gives journalism students an opportunity to come across different kinds of training.
Yeah.
So at the end of this entire training process and an expo, then there is a competition. So they collaborate with companies like DW Academy, CAS, different news entities and peaceful entities. So the commission came. I joined specifically to do a radio feature because I was already doing radio, so I felt like I would win in radio. And then
Mm-hmm.
a friend of mine is like, Hannah, somebody just jumped out of our TV crew. Are you willing to join in as an anchor? I'm like, okay, fine. Let's just do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined the team. We worked on the stories, worked on our documentary, worked on the entire project, and then we went for the competition, and we came out as number one.
That's
And
awesome.
they called out my name 2021, and like that specific category is a
Mm-hmm.
really prestigious category. Like yes, they are all prestigious, but
Yeah.
that specific category, like it literally skyrockets your entire career like
Mm-hmm.
crazy. So when they
And your
say Hannah
resume. Yeah.
Arinaitwe, you want this, everyone
So
scream, people.
I saw the
And
video on
people,
Instagram of you getting up to go and pick up the award, and yeah,
yeah,
you could see the
like
excitement.
in my mind, I had planned to like be very calm about it,
Mm-hmm.
walk elegantly, classily, like in a classy way to pick my award. But
It
I
got
don't know
over
what
you.
happened when they say my name, I raced to the stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really super, super, super fun for me, and it just assured me that I was in the right place doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's awesome because I also share my podcast won an award last year
Yes,
in
I saw
Uganda.
that.
So
I
that was
did.
amazing. I didn't get the feeling to be there in person, but watching
Yeah.
it, I was watching it live on the internet, and I got my cousins and my brothers to represent me. But I know the
Yeah.
feeling. I was in the chair sitting, and I got an opportunity to just speak through FaceTime. But
I
I could
know.
understand the feeling and winning that award to get the feeling that your work has been appreciated
Exactly.
and to
And that you're
go
in the
through.
right place. You're doing the
Yeah.
right thing. That assurance. It's
More
just,
to that was also the people who were voting because it helped to bring my friends together, my family together. At one point, I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit because I don't see anything good going to come out of this. I
yeah.
don't want it. But my family was like, you know what? Even if you quit, we're going to still vote. We're going to be
Yeah.
voting. So they were like, we're going to vote. And I was like, there's no way I can stop people who want
I
to
know.
support and show you the
To
love.
support
And
you.
it came out really good. You mentioned about the Media Challenge Initiative Fellowship, and I had that
Mm.
down here to ask you. I think, I don't know if you were there by that time, but there's a guy called Ali. I don't know if you
Ali,
know him.
yes.
So Ali reached out to me, and this was back in the days when I would just say the podcast. Ali reached
Mm-hmm.
out to me and actually recorded a short, about 5 minute video that he
Mm-hmm.
shared with the people in the Media Challenge initiative about podcasting. Yeah,
Really?
and that's how I
Yeah.
know him. So Ali reached out to me, and that was an opportunity too because here I was on this journey learning how to do podcasting, but somebody else looked at it and was like, "Hey, can you share your knowledge with these journalists that
Wow.
are gonna do that?" So I have a clip that they shared in one of those meetings with those journalists out there. So when you mentioned, it, I was
Mm.
like, "Yeah, I know that. I've been a part of that." Oh,
That's cool.
so you said you talked about you in journalism space and you've done radio, you've
Mm.
done everything. And I saw recently you once said somewhere cooking something, and then another day we see
Yeah.
this your space. Talk about that. What is your space and how did that come about?
Yeah, so Your Space is a new TV show that is featuring on UBC at the start of April, the very first Sunday of April to be launching on UBC. So it's basically a space that gives the youth an opportunity to express their views and express their thoughts. But at the end of the day, what the aim for the entire show is to reinstate values back into the Ugandan youth because at the end of the day, we are fighting so many vices, corruption, embezzlement, and all these different things. And yet, the youth are the future leaders. So it starts with us bettering ourselves before we get into these other huge and bigger positions to influence the entire country. So actually got that deal in yeah. I
Okay.
was home on my university holiday, and I was chilling with my family. So I found like 15 missed calls from
Hmm.
an unknown number. So I pick up the phone, and this young girl is like, "Hi, Hannah." I'm like, "Hi. This is I even don't remember her name. I'm so sorry. This is someone from university. We actually are in the same speech club. There's a speech club called Gavo Club at Makerere. So I'm on the committee of that club. So she's like, we're in the same speech club, and my dad would like to talk to you. He works at UBC. He's the sales executive at UBC. So I was like, oh, cool. All right. So the dad gets on the phone. He's like, "Hi, Hannah." I'm like, "Hi. Um, we have a plan for a certain show, and the person we thought was going to host it can't do it anymore. And my daughter was telling me that you are somebody she has interacted with at university. Are you willing to take on the show?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, we just saw your YouTube. Like, she showed me your YouTube, she
Yeah.
showed me your blog, and I think this is the kind of person we want to work with." I was dumbfounded because never in 1,000 years had I ever thought that me posting my content on YouTube or anywhere would actually get me such an opportunity,
Hmm.
especially from someone who I've never really interacted with this girl before. I think I don't know, like things just happened. You do
Yeah.
your work, you work on your content, you put it out into the world. People are watching, even when you think they are not. People are actually seeing what you're doing and they're
Hmm.
appreciating it.
Hmm.
So we had a meeting, and that's how I got into the show. I'm now officially the host.
That's amazing. And I'm glad you shared that. I'm glad somebody else shared that because I say these things on the podcast. And that's why when I
Mm,
say my stories on the podcast, I know there are other
yeah,
people out there that have stories to share. And I want my listeners and people out there to even hear from other people's stories. And I was sharing about me starting this podcast and how the opportunities of this podcast have brought to me. Most people nowadays in our generation will go and look at your picture on Instagram. You have 2 likes and they're like,
yeah.
China fam or
This
like
guy's
like this.
tying up
But
him.
look, they'll go to your YouTube and they see, oh, you have like 20 views and like, or your sister there, or like, but the work you put out there represents you. Like here, you've mentioned like
You,
somebody, they
yeah.
went and looked at your YouTube and
Mm-hmm.
it brought this big opportunity for you. And that's why I want to tell people that don't stop on your work. Like, don't be let down by the
Exactly.
views because it's not even the views, like, might not do a lot to your life, but there's people out there. What if the 2 people that viewed your podcast or your YouTube are the
Exactly.
people that want somebody like you? So you never know who's going to
Yes.
benefit from that. And speaking of that, I shared that my podcast. So
Yeah.
when I got my new job, the
Mm-hmm.
CEO of the company, and it's one of the biggest companies in the United States that does private jets like Signature Aviation. And I work for Signature
Mm-hmm.
Aviation in different locations. But the
Yes.
CEO of that company, when they hired me in my interview, I told them I have a podcast. I do my podcast out of my house. And they went on my YouTube and watched my podcast. And they asked me to be like a representative for them to like do media stuff and like audio and um they recorded those videos and I recorded those videos for them to put on their website and it was because of my podcast. That's another blessing that it came with that I really like and I'm glad you shared that how you landed that opportunity. So whoever is out there, just keep
I
what you're doing.
exactly actually watched a TikTok and someone was saying that he had uploaded this video and it had like literally 10 views. And then like his 11th view was Oprah Winfrey. And that's how like the Oprah Winfrey watching his video like literally skyrocketed his entire career. And those are
Hmm.
just like 11 views on one video. So it's
Right.
not about the views, but who is actually getting impacted by the kind of content you're releasing.
Mhm.
So you never know. Just keep doing your thing. People are watching. People are seeing what you're
Yeah.
doing.
And also the other thing I say, like when you get this algorithm or like this thing you can test it out with when you
Mm.
post something on your story, you're gonna get more
Mm.
views than you get when you post something on your feed. So that
Yes.
means that people might not just hit the like button, but
Like
they're
button, but
watching.
they're
They're
seeing.
watching. So like people are out there watching, they just not either like button or but they'll listen and they'll
Yeah.
watch it. So talking about a lot of things you do, also saw you on the Gospel Vibes Family TV. You're everywhere. Like they hosted you on that. And are you like a whole were you just a guest on that or you do something with them as well?
No, as just a guest on the show. We're
Okay.
talking about the youth. I'm passionate about things that are in relation to the youth,
Hmm.
motivation, life skills, positivity, spreading a bit of positivity in everything I do. So they
Hmm.
invited me on the show to speak about some of the problems we go through as the youth in our day-to-day lives. So yeah, I've worked at Family TV before as a news reporter for some time. So
Hmm.
I have experience working with them. But in that specific show, I was just basically a guest. Yeah.
It would not be fair if I ask you a lot of questions and I don't touch about Power FM where you work. How is that job? And I've seen some of the clips you've done on there. And how is that going? And how did you land that too?
So fast forward back to my senior six vacation. You guys, everything, my entire life changed in my senior six vacation when I was looking for what my career is going to be. So I was stuck between doing law and journalism. My entire family was telling me, Hannah, you are a great speaker. Like, do law. Like, law is for you. Don't take journalism. There is no money in journalism. There is nothing you're going to get in journalism. And then I asked God, I prayed to God. I'm like, God, I need a sign. Show me the way that you want me to go to.
Hmm.
So he sent the sign. I got a phone call from somebody at church, Watoto Church. And like Hannah, again, I was on the committee. I am always on committees for each and everything. And a couple of people were telling me, Hannah, you're everywhere. I'm like, I'm not going to apologize for being everywhere because
Mhm.
me being everywhere has opened so many doors for me.
Opportunities, yeah.
So, yeah. So the person who was in charge of our committee for the Senior Six vacation then tells me, Power FM is looking for somebody in the committee to represent the entire fellowship. Are you interested for a live show? I'm like, yeah, cool. So I go for the live show. We have lots of fun. There's DJs and all that. And then the following day, I get a phone call. They're like, "Oh, Hannah, we liked seeing you on the live show. Do you want to come for a training?" I'm like, God, this is the sign. This
Yeah.
is the sign you are giving me. I get you. No more confusion. Full stop. I'm doing journalism. Sweet. I did training for some months, and then
Mhm.
I officially got a show, the My Teens show, my baby show that grew me into radio. I love that show so much.
Mhm.
It's just yesterday that I announced that I'll be leaving that show now to a bigger show. I'll be going to the Weekend Agenda. It's a Saturday morning show that will be running
Mhm.
from 6 to 10 a.m. So I'm excited for a new journey. It's been 2 years since I've joined Power FM. I think
Okay.
officially 2 years. This is my the beginning of the third year actually.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Power FM has been a great place for me to grow, honestly.
Yeah. That is awesome. And when you're talking about that, you touched about Watoto Church. I don't know
Mm.
if what specific location you go to, but I also saw you were the Luoa church, Luoa location. Is that your home church, or you were just visiting?
Yeah, I was just visiting on behalf of the
Yeah, because I was
station.
gonna ask you about
We
the Easter in
in
prison campaign.
prison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's
So
that
we're having
about?
the Easter in Prison campaign. So every Easter, Power FM decides to spend their Easter with a certain group of people that need help. So this year we're doing Easter in prison with the women prisoners in Mbara and their children. So there are over 200 women prisoners with their kids, and we are raising funds for them to for us to be able to go and visit them and like make their lives better in whatever amount of money you have. But it's basically a 25,000 plus campaign. So last year we were able to go and spend Easter with a couple of children. This year we have decided to go with women prisoners, and we'll be visiting them on Easter. But if you want to give in for this campaign, please feel free. I'm going to leave the numbers for any donations that you have in my story. I'm going to be posting it every day on my story until the
Okay,
campaign is done.
you
Yeah,
you can share those with me, and I can put them in the description of this podcast too when it comes out. Um,
yeah.
that's a cool idea. I never thought about that. That's a cool initiative to think about and to do for the people.
Most times when we are looking for places like to, fund and do charity for, we are thinking of orphans, we're thinking
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
not so many times will you find people thinking about the women prisoners. So this is going to be a great experience for us. We can't wait to see them smile and
Mhm.
enjoy themselves on Easter.
Actually, I should do some questions that people asked you that I have down here.
Yeah.
Some of them you saw them, some of them you didn't see them. But I want to start with that one on Twitter. The guy that said, "Stay around." What did I write it down? It said, "Stay around." What? There's no context to that. Like I was like, I hope Hannah knows or she has the context around this. What's that about?
So, I don't know how to say it, but like I think I've met that person like a couple of times. But like I also personally have no idea where the question came from.
Okay,
But that's something I'm used to. Maybe he was being sarcastic. I have
maybe.
no idea. I think
Maybe.
so.
But yeah, whoever you are, your question has been asked. So I don't know if you're content with the answer, but if you're not content with the answer, you can go to Hannah and you give her
Please
more
DM
context.
me.
uh, somebody else asked, have you ever failed at something so bad?
Hmm. Have I ever failed at something so bad? No, no.
Okay.
Failing. Okay, okay. I don't know. I'm one person that doesn't really take failure so serious. Normally, when I fail at something, I just get up and move forward. Like I never really
Okay.
think about the failure before.
Hmm.
But I one of the things I at the very start of my career, serious career, I fought with was fear of failure. The fear for failure is something we are all going to go through. It's something that I think everybody goes through once in a while. But then I
Hmm.
think it's up to you to decide on how you want to take a no kind of response. For me, when
Right.
somebody says no, it hurts for a while, but then like I quickly move on. I'm not like one person who reflects on it so much. I
Hmm.
think that's why when you asked that question, I couldn't even picture. Like I couldn't even like get one experience where I failed so bad because
Hmm.
it's I don't really think so much about the failure.
Yeah.
I think we as humans have the power to control our feelings. We
Hmm.
choose who to love. People disagree with that and claim, no, love is love. No, but honestly, we choose who to love. We choose what to keep our minds reflected on. Like we have so much power over ourselves and feelings that you can either decide to dwell on the fear or not. For me,
Yeah.
my go-to thing about fear is leave it for a while and let it go. Like just let it go.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I agree with you on failure because when I asked you the question, I was trying to think on the back of my head, have I failed at something? But
Yeah.
I don't look at it as that. Maybe there's something I failed at, but I didn't look at it as a failure. I looked at it as an
Yeah.
opportunity to try again
To
or an
mm-hmm.
opportunity to get stronger or like a lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
it's that. So I wouldn't admit to say fail because I'm one of the
It's
person who doesn't
fail.
like to fail at something. So like I'll give a
Mm.
comparison, which it might be a stupid comparison, but I like playing games. I'm good at
Mm.
games. No, I
Video
wouldn't say I'm good
games,
at video games, any type of sports games,
any kind.
anything,
Oh yeah.
anything
Yeah.
competitive.
I see you
And
supporting. Is it Chelsea? You support Arsenal?
no,
I'm not good at football.
that's an abomination. Don't even say it. No, I support Arsenal. Actually, my jersey right up
Arsenal.
here. I
Yeah,
make
I
sure,
can
yeah,
see it.
it's up there.
Yeah.
But I love sports, and I'm so competitive in a good way. I get mad when I lose, which is also
Ooh.
not good. Like
Yeah.
you have to understand, like you lose. But when I lose, yeah, it's part of life. And even when but on back of my head, I was like, why did I lose? So that next time I'm not losing. When I'm playing a
Get
game
better.
and I keep losing, my head is like, how can I win? How can I get better? What do I
Mm.
need to change? And that's how my
Mm-hmm.
life works. Like, yeah, you're gonna have those little things that come in your way,
Mm-hmm.
but then you learn from them. Like, hey, I failed
Exactly.
here, or like this didn't come out as I
Yeah.
wanted. What can I do
Yeah.
better to improve it? So that's how it is. So like, it's not a complete failure that I'm gonna stop, but that's kind of
Yeah.
just like a hit, and then you're gonna come back again.
You move
But a
forward.
failure is when you go down and you don't stand up. So, and that has
Now,
never happened to me.
I've thought of an experience. So I applied for the Yali Fellowship, the Young African Leadership Fellowship, East African Leadership Fellowship. So I didn't go through, and a couple of friends of mine went through. So I was asking myself, like, I was first of all disappointed that they went through without me, but
Mhm.
then it actually got me to a place of like asking myself, like, okay, why? You know? Now I started to ask her, like, what did you do different than I didn't, you know? So I took that as an opportunity like to better myself and to like grow. But if
Mhm.
I kept hanging on to the whole thing, I didn't go through, blah 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 blah, I think I would be a bitter old woman, right?
Yeah,
I'd be
and
a bitter old woman.
I understand that too to a point that I applied for a job, and this was I think my first job,
Mm.
and and this job was in the church. I grew up in church, and I was like, I
Yeah.
see myself serving in the church and helping in the church. So when that opportunity came, I went. I was like, I really want this opportunity. I'm coming out of college, and they didn't give me. I didn't go through.
Mm.
Like long story short, I won't go through. I went through till like the last interview, and at the end they're like, no, we decided to move with this other person. So I looked at that. I'm like, why? Why didn't they take me? And I was mad about. I
Mm.
wasn't mad, but I was discouraged about it. But sometimes
Disappointed.
things
Yeah.
disappointed. That's the right word. But sometimes things like that happen because there's a bigger thing happening. Like I got. I mean, the job I have now is not in the church, but it's a job that keeps me happy. It pays me well enough that I like. It's a dream actually that I've
Mm.
always wanted when I was young, working with airplanes. And I mean, I wanted to work in church too. I wanted to serve in church. But as far as the job and the career that I do, I'm happy with it. And maybe God, that's what God had for my life. So I don't look at that time as a failure that I
Yeah,
failed to get a job, but maybe that happens because you have a bigger thing that's going to happen in the future. So
prepared
sometimes
for
we need to
you.
look at that like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But the interesting thing about serving God is you
Mm-hmm.
can serve God even when you're not in church.
Right.
Yeah, you can still serve
Hmm.
God through this podcast, through the things He says. So it's not only in church where people serve God.
Right.
So yeah.
And yeah, that's the other thing. The other question: how many times do you smile? I can't count because when I've had you on the podcast, you've been smiling from the beginning to the end. So I don't know how you're going to answer that.
I am naturally a jolly person, honestly. I do a lot of smiling and
Yeah.
I'm very loud and I laugh really loudly. So I'm so sorry, Basha, if your ears are already hurting from all the laughter. But I'm just a jolly person naturally. And I get that question so many times on my Instagram stories, on my videos on YouTube. I get that question a lot. And like I don't know. I'm just a happy person, I guess. I
Yeah.
just do a lot of smiling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I call myself a happy person too. I get bothered a lot when I'm not happy. It bothers
Yeah.
me a lot. Like I want to be, even when I'm mad at somebody, like I try to make sure I make things good with that person because I'm myself. I don't want to be mad. Like I want to
Mad.
say, hey, let's end this, and I want to go back to being happy, and that's how I like
Yeah.
to do that. What keeps you going when everything is falling apart? That's another question from somebody on Instagram.
Whew. What keeps me going when everything is falling apart? For me, it's the fact that I know that this is the route God wants me to be on. So even when things are not going well, I know I'm in the right place and God put me here for a reason. There are
Exactly.
times when I, one of the things that frustrates me so much about content creation is when you have recorded something so well, visuals on point, sound on point, and then on the point of uploading the content and something happens, I don't know what, and everything is just like destroyed. And that has happened to me a number of times, even when I'm working on collaborations with brands or companies, and I feel so bad about it,
Yeah.
feel discouraged about it. Or even like other different things. I do a lot of pitching for
Hmm.
stories and documentaries and stories to work on, and people are telling you, no, this is crap, this is trash. Like those things really put me down. But for me, one thing that comforts me all the time is that I know I'm in the right place. So
Hmm.
there's nothing that can really pull me down. Like God put
Yeah.
me here for a reason. He put me in this space for a reason. So I forget about after some time, I just forget about it. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I want to ask you about, you were the host of We're Black Alley concert that happened at Makerere. How was that like? What was the experience of that?
Oh, wow. I had so much. I've never hosted an event and had so much fun like that one. Because number one, it was my very first time hosting a concert. I normally do a lot of corporate emceeing, corporate events. It's either an expo or a conversation or a political panel, those things. And I was kind
Hmm.
of, honestly, to be honest, I was kind of scared to do a different scene like this, a concert. Does it mean I have to change the way I dress? Does it mean I have to change the way I talk? Does it mean I have to do a lot of, you know, sh- the stereotypes around concerts?
Hmm.
That scared me a lot. But I was like, you know what? I can still be myself and still do this concert. So it was so much fun. First of all, the band is amazing,
Yeah.
mind blowing. So it was easy to connect with them. We had artists, we had Navio, St. Millicent, some hip hop artists. It was
Hmm.
really cool. And I think for me, it was the very first time as working on a project with the US Embassy.
Yeah.
So having that space where you're connecting with the ambassador herself, the very big, big people in the space, it was just really a great opportunity for me. And I think I
Yeah.
can do more concerts now. Like, yeah. So if you have a
Yeah.
concert, Banaye, call me, Munkubireko. I'll bring my own Hannah vibe to that concert. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have
Yeah.
a
It was really
concert,
cool.
call her. Call me maybe. um yeah, I was gonna ask you because I saw like a US flag on the stage and a US flag on the shirt you were wearing,
Mm,
and I wondered about
yeah.
that. But yeah, I think that makes sense when you talk about working with the
So
US
it
embassy.
was basically celebrating two things: Mark at 100, Makerere University at 100 years, and also the 60 years of Uganda USA relations.
Okay.
So that was the theme for the entire event.
That's amazing, and that looked fun. I saw the pictures
It
on Instagram.
was.
So we're coming close to the end of this podcast. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I think I can talk to you for like the whole day. But I try to keep these like short because some people, when they listen to a podcast at 7 minutes, they end the.
Yeah,
So like you try to
I
balance listening
know.
span and make sure they end it. But one
Yeah.
question I was gonna ask you, there's a it's either a caption or it's a word that I've seen somewhere that
Mm.
says you are the prize. Don't let anyone tell you different. What was behind that statement when you wrote it? Today's episode is sponsored by Dance Gamers. Dance Gamers is the leading distributor of video games and other consumer gadgets like the podcast microphone sets, ring lights, headphones, and affordable smartwatches, and many other cool gadgets. For these and more, visit their website at www.dancesoftgamers.co. That is www.dancesoftgamers.co.
You are the prize, baby. Oh, the one thing I am a pro at is I love I love the whole idea of self-confidence, because
Mhm.
me self-confidence has taken me very far. And the reason why I was saying that you are the prize, baby, is because there are so many things people tie success to. You must look a certain way, you must be a
Mhm.
certain kind of color, you must dress a certain kind of, like, there are so many things people attach to success, and they feel like if you're not that perfect picture, you can't be the prize. But guess what? I am not exactly the entire perfect picture, but I'm still the prize,
Yeah.
you know? So
Hmm.
it doesn't matter where you come from, how you look like, how you talk, which schools you went to, Basha. It doesn't matter. You are still the prize. You are
That's
still the
awesome.
prize.
Yeah. I really
Yeah.
love that. I love the self love and self empowerment and
Mm.
just making yourself like affirm that before anybody else does that. And that's why I'm so
Yes.
big on captions and words. I like to listen to why somebody wrote that, what it means to
Wrote
them.
that.
If like it
Yeah.
helps me to understand, that's why I brought that.
That was one of the very first articles I wrote on my blog. Body shaming, one of my very first articles. I've gone through so much self self hate because of body shaming. So I came out of it successfully, and there's nobody that loves themselves like I love myself. So I've always had so many people come to me in my DMs and telling me, Hannah, I am having issues with the way people look at me like this. How do you do it? And all that. So in most of my writing, I always like to involve a little bit of positivity and self confidence in everything. The videos I do, the captions I write, just to encourage somebody out there in case they're having those kinds of insecurities. And let me tell you, everybody has insecurities. Everyone has
Hmm.
insecurities. So
Yeah.
if you can just sprinkle in a little bit of positivity in whatever you do, it could be helping somebody out there.
That is awesome. And it's a reminder that when you meet somebody, just be kind to them, show them
Be
love. You never know
kind.
what they're going through, and you don't lose
Yeah.
anything for you to just be kind. Some people are
Mm.
struggling with a lot of things that you don't know. So if you add on to what they're already going through, then life can be hard to many people.
And people act like people think people don't know. Like people know the
Yeah.
things they are going through. They
Yeah.
don't need you to add on to. They know. Trust me, they know.
Hmm.
They know.
So, one of the
Yeah.
questions I want to ask you: what has been a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
Be proactive.
Okay.
That's my biggest life lesson. The moment I decided to be proactive, being proactive is basically being somebody that stands out in the room and somebody that is always looking forward to being seen and being heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what is going to push your dream. That's what is going to push you to the next level. And it doesn't matter if you're doing content creation or you're being a doctor, you're being a what. But for me, my biggest lesson in life is be proactive, even in relationships. You
Yeah.
know, when you're being proactive, trust me, you'll get that person that you are looking at, that you are
Mhm.
eyeing. You'll get that job, you'll get that friend, you'll get all the things you're looking for in the world if you're just proactive. Even in your relationship with God, when you're being proactive and you are really trying to be intentional with Him, you get closer to Him. But if you're there, quite, being reserved in a way, and it's okay. But people misinterpret being proactive to only extroverts. But you
Yeah.
can be an introvert and be proactive. I've written an article called Excuse Me Introvert, Excuse Me Extrovert, that
Mhm.
basically talks about it doesn't matter the kind of character you are, you can still be proactive in your own way. Yeah.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. So my final question, I'd like to ask you,
Mm.
who would you like to see on my podcast next? And you're gonna help me to get that person on the podcast.
Wow. Have you had Pfizer Fabs on your podcast?
I think I've seen her on Instagram, but I've not had her on the podcast. Not yet.
You need to have Pfizer on your podcast. She's someone amazing.
Okay.
Amazing. Yeah.
So you are gonna do the job, link her to me, and then I'll reach out to her to ask her if she's willing to be on the podcast.
Yeah, sure. I would love to. I would love
All
to.
right. All
Yeah.
right, Hannah, it was amazing talking to you. I appreciate the time you've given me. Hopefully, the listeners will pick out a thing or two on the things we've talked about today, and hopefully,
Yeah.
they'll enjoy it.
Thank you for having me.
All right,
Bye.
bye. Hey there, this is Bonnie Kibuka, the host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it with a friend and recommend somebody to this podcast. Don't forget to leave a feedback on this podcast because that's how we grow. And also don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. Join us on our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much and be blessed.